I had been married to my husband David for 15 years. 15 years of building a life together, raising two beautiful children, and supporting each other through the ups and downs of careers, finances, and the everyday challenges that come with a long-term partnership. I had given him everything: my trust, my love, my loyalty, and my unwavering belief that we were in this together, that we were a team, and that nothing could ever come between us because our bond was too strong and our love was too deep to be broken by anything or anyone. I had supported him through his career changes, through his moments of doubt, through his failures and his successes, and I had never once questioned his commitment to me or our family because I believed that we were different, that we had something special, and that we would grow old together surrounded by our children and grandchildren. I was a successful marketing executive with a thriving career, and I had always made sure to balance my professional ambitions with my responsibilities as a wife and mother, never letting my work overshadow my family because I believed that was what a good wife and mother was supposed to do. I thought we were happy, truly happy, and I had no idea that the man I loved more than anything in the world was slowly falling out of love with me and into the arms of someone else. I had no idea that the woman I trusted most in the world, my best friend Rachel, was secretly spending time with my husband, sharing secrets with him, and slowly but surely replacing me in his heart and his life without me even noticing. I discovered the truth on a random Tuesday evening when I came home early from a business trip, hoping to surprise David and the children with gifts and a nice dinner, only to find him sitting in our living room with Rachel, their hands intertwined, their faces close together, and a look of guilt and panic washing over them when they saw me standing in the doorway. I stood there, frozen, my suitcase slipping from my hand and crashing onto the floor, and I felt my entire world collapse around me because the two people I trusted most in the world had been betraying me behind my back. Rachel jumped up, stammered something about just stopping by to check on David, but I could see the truth in her eyes, could see the guilt and the shame and the complete lack of remorse that I would have expected from a friend who had just been caught destroying her best friend's marriage. David tried to explain, tried to justify, tried to tell me that it was just a mistake, that it had only happened a few times, and that he still loved me and wanted to make things work. But I wasn't buying it because I knew that this wasn't just a mistake, that this was a choice, a deliberate decision to betray me and our family and everything we had built together. I felt a cold fury rising inside me, a deep, burning anger that I had never experienced before because the two people I loved most had stabbed me in the back without any hesitation or regret. I didn't scream or cry or make a scene because I knew that showing my emotions would only give them the satisfaction of knowing that they had hurt me, and I refused to give them that power over me. Instead, I walked calmly into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and said, "I want you both out of my house. Right now. David, you can come back tomorrow to pack your things, but I don't want to see either of you again tonight." David tried to argue, tried to beg me to listen, tried to tell me that he was sorry and that he had made a terrible mistake, but I refused to hear any of it because I had heard enough, seen enough, and experienced enough pain for one lifetime. Rachel tried to apologize, tried to tell me that she never meant to hurt me, but I just looked at her coldly and said, "You were my best friend, Rachel. You were the one person I trusted with everything. And you threw it all away for a man who was never going to leave his wife. Congratulations. You have nothing now." I watched them both leave, watched David pick up his keys and walk out the door without looking back. And I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief because I knew that the chapter of my life with them was finally over, and I could finally start rebuilding something that was entirely my own. The divorce was messy, exhausting, and emotionally draining, but I fought tooth and nail for everything I deserved: the house, the children, the financial settlement that would allow me to rebuild my life without David's support or interference. I hired the best divorce lawyer I could find, and I made sure that David understood that he had made a terrible mistake, that he had chosen the wrong person to betray, and that he would pay the price for his betrayal in ways he couldn't even imagine. I won the custody battle for our children, kept the house, and walked away from the divorce with a sense of empowerment that I had never experienced before because I had survived the worst betrayal of my life and come out on the other side stronger and more determined than ever. I changed my name, changed my appearance, and started building a new life for myself and my children, a life that didn't include David or Rachel or anyone who had hurt me or betrayed my trust. I threw myself into my career, working harder than I had ever worked before, and I quickly became one of the top executives in my industry, earning promotions and recognition that I had never thought possible. Within 2 years, I had been promoted to the position of CEO of a major company, a role that came with power, influence, and the kind of financial security that I had never known before. As CEO, I transformed my company into one of the most successful in the industry, making strategic decisions that increased profits, expanded our reach, and attracted top talent from around the world. I became a respected leader, a role model for other women in business, and a voice for those who had been overlooked and underestimated by the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally. I didn't let my past define me, but I also never forgot the lessons that it had taught me. The importance of trusting my instincts, the danger of giving too much of myself to people who didn't deserve it, and the power of turning pain into purpose. My company's success was featured in major publications, and I was invited to speak at conferences and events around the country, sharing my story and inspiring others to overcome adversity and build the lives they deserved. I had never felt more fulfilled or more powerful than I did in that moment, surrounded by people who respected me and looked up to me, and I knew that I had made the right decision to walk away from David and Rachel and build something entirely my own. It was 5 years after the divorce when I found myself conducting a hiring interview for a senior position in my company. And when the candidate walked into the room, I felt my blood run cold because it was Rachel, my former best friend, the woman who had betrayed me and destroyed my marriage. Rachel looked different than she had 5 years ago. Older, more tired, and clearly desperate for the job that I was offering. She didn't recognize me immediately because I had changed my appearance so much, but when I spoke, her face went completely white, and she stammered, "Sarah? Oh my God, I didn't know. I had no idea this was your company. Please don't do this to me. I need this job. I have no one else to turn to." I sat there, looking at her across the table, and I felt a cold, calm satisfaction wash over me because I had been waiting for this moment for 5 years, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I looked at Rachel for a long moment, taking in her desperate expression, her trembling hands, and the complete powerlessness that radiated from her like a signal. I remembered all the times she had smiled in my face while plotting to destroy my marriage, all the times she had pretended to be my friend while secretly spending time with my husband, and all the times I had trusted her without any hesitation or doubt. I felt a strange mix of anger and pity because I knew that Rachel had never really understood what she had done, had never understood the damage she had caused, and had never realized that her actions would eventually come back to haunt her in ways she couldn't even imagine. I said calmly, "Rachel, you didn't just betray me. You destroyed my trust, my marriage, and my family. You took something that wasn't yours, and you expected me to just get over it and move on. But I didn't get over it. I built something better. And now you're sitting in front of me, needing something from me, and I get to decide whether you get it or not." I pulled up Rachel's resume on my laptop, scanned it for a few seconds, and noticed something strange. She had been unemployed for almost 2 years, and her references were all people who clearly didn't want to vouch for her. I said, "Tell me, Rachel, what happened to your career? You were a marketing manager when I left the company. Now you're applying for an entry-level position. What changed?" Rachel started crying, her composure crumbling completely, and she whispered, "I made a lot of mistakes. I trusted the wrong people, made the wrong choices, and I have nothing left. Please, Sarah, I know I hurt you, but I'm begging you. Give me a chance to prove that I've changed." I listened to her cry, listened to her beg, and I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me because I realized that I had already won, that I had already moved on, and that I didn't need to humiliate her or destroy her to feel satisfied. I just needed to show her exactly what she had lost and what she could never have. I looked at Rachel and said, "You know what, Rachel? You're right. You made mistakes. You trusted the wrong people, made the wrong choices, and you have nothing left. But I don't care about your mistakes. I care about the person you were when you betrayed me, and I don't think that person has changed enough to work for me. I'm not going to hire you, Rachel. Not because I'm angry, but because I deserve someone who I can trust. Someone who has integrity, and someone who doesn't have a history of betraying the people who care about them." Rachel started pleading with me, telling me that she was desperate, that she had nowhere else to go, that she would do anything for the job. But I just shook my head and said, "I'm sorry, Rachel. I can't give you this position. But I can give you some advice. Stop blaming other people for your mistakes and start taking responsibility for your own choices. That's the only way you're ever going to rebuild your life. I stood up, walked around the table, and held out my hand to Rachel. She looked at my hand for a moment, then shook it, her face pale and her eyes filled with tears. I said, "Good luck, Rachel. I hope you find what you're looking for." I turned around and walked out of the room, leaving her sitting there alone. And I felt a deep sense of closure wash over me because I had finally said everything I needed to say and done everything I needed to do. I had faced the person who had hurt me the most, and I had walked away without giving her the power to hurt me again. I got into my car and drove home, feeling lighter than I had felt in years, because I had finally let go of the anger and the pain that had been holding me back. I never saw or spoke to Rachel again after that day, and I didn't really care what happened to her because I had moved on and built a life that I loved. I had rebuilt my career, rebuilt my confidence, and rebuilt my trust in myself, and I had finally found a partner who treated me with love and respect, someone who had never given me a reason to doubt them and who would never betray my trust. I continued to build my company and my legacy, investing in other women entrepreneurs and mentoring young professionals who were facing their own challenges and obstacles. I had become a successful CEO, a respected leader, and a role model for other women who had been underestimated and overlooked by the people who were supposed to love them unconditionally. I realized that I had never been the victim of my situation. I was the hero of my own story, the survivor of my own life, and the person who had found the strength to rebuild everything from the ashes of her former life. I never forgot the pain that David and Rachel had caused me, but I also never let it define me because I was so much more than the sum of my past experiences and the struggles I had overcome. I knew that I was not a victim but a survivor, not a failure but a fighter, not a person who had been broken by betrayal, but a person who had been forged by it into something stronger and more resilient. I had found the strength to rebuild my life on my own terms and to create a future that was entirely my own, and I felt a deep sense of peace knowing that I had done everything I needed to do to heal and move on. The best revenge against someone who had dismissed me and underestimated me was to become so successful, so powerful and so happy that they could never ignore me again, and then to offer them absolutely nothing because they didn't deserve my tears, my time, or my forgiveness. I had built a life filled with love, success, and fulfillment, and I had proven to myself and everyone else that I was capable of achieving anything I set my mind to. A few years after the divorce, I met a man named Michael, who was everything that David had never been: kind, supportive, and completely devoted to me and my children. He had been through his own difficult divorce, and he understood the pain and the betrayal that I had experienced, which made our connection even stronger. He didn't try to compete with my success or take credit for my achievements. He celebrated them, supported me, and encouraged me to keep pushing forward and building the life I wanted. We built a new life together, a partnership based on mutual respect and trust, and I finally felt like I had found the love that I had been searching for my entire life. We got married in a small ceremony, surrounded by friends and family who loved and supported us, and I felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment because I knew that I had finally found someone who would never betray me or hurt me the way David had hurt me. I learned from my past experiences and applied the lessons I had learned to my new relationship, making sure to set clear boundaries and hold Michael accountable for the promises he made. And I have never looked back on the decisions I made to walk away from David and Rachel and build a better life for myself. I continued to grow as a leader and an entrepreneur, expanding my company and entering new markets that opened up exciting opportunities for growth and innovation. I spoke at conferences around the world, sharing my story and inspiring others to overcome adversity and build the lives they deserved. I was recognized as one of the most influential leaders in my industry, and I used that platform to advocate for other women, to challenge the status quo, and to push for greater equality in the workplace. I made a commitment to give back to my community and to support causes that were important to me, especially those that helped women and girls achieve their full potential. I launched a foundation in my name, funding scholarships and mentorship programs for young women who were determined to succeed and break the cycle of poverty and abuse that had defined so many of our lives. I had never felt more satisfied with my life, knowing that I was using my success to make a positive difference in the world and to help others find the strength and courage to overcome their own struggles. My children grew up watching me rebuild my life. And they learned from my example that it is possible to overcome even the most devastating setbacks and build something better out of the ashes. They saw me fight for my career, fight for my family, and fight for my own happiness, and they grew up with a deep respect for my strength and resilience. They never asked about their father or what had happened between us because they had seen the pain and the betrayal, and they had chosen to focus on building their own lives with the lessons I had taught them. My daughter eventually followed in my footsteps, becoming a successful businesswoman and a passionate advocate for women's rights and gender equality. She never let anyone tell her that she couldn't achieve something, and she was determined to make a difference in the world just like I had done. I watched her with pride, knowing that I had played a part in shaping the person she had become, and I felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that my legacy would live on through her and through the other women I had mentored and supported. A few years later, I received a message from Rachel asking if I would be willing to meet with her one last time. I was surprised, but I agreed because I wanted to see if she had genuinely changed and if there was any chance of reconciliation between us. We met at a small cafe, and Rachel looked different than she had the last time I had seen her, more humble, more vulnerable, and more aware of the mistakes she had made. She told me that she had been in therapy, that she had spent years trying to understand why she had done what she did, and that she had finally come to terms with the damage she had caused to me and to herself. She apologized sincerely and without excuses, and she told me that she had accepted that our friendship could never be repaired, but that she wanted to tell me that she was sorry and that she would never have done what she did if she had understood how much it would hurt me. I listened to her speak, and I felt a strange sense of closure wash over me because I had finally heard the apology that I had been waiting for all those years. I sat in that cafe, looking at Rachel, and I realized that I had finally let go of the anger and the pain that had been holding me back for so many years. I didn't hate her anymore. I just felt sorry for her. Sorry that she had thrown away a friendship and a life that could have been filled with love and support. And sorry that she had spent so many years trying to fill the void inside her with things that could never bring her happiness. I thanked her for her apology, and I told her that I had forgiven her, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved to let go of the anger and the hurt and the pain that I'd been carrying with me for so long. I stood up, gave her a hug, and walked away from that cafe feeling lighter than I had felt in years because I had finally found the closure I had been seeking, and I had finally been able to move on without the weight of the past holding me down. I knew that I would never be able to trust her the way I had before, but I also knew that I was no longer defined by the betrayal, and that I had the power to let go and move forward with my life. Today, I am a successful CEO, a loving wife, a proud mother, and a woman who has overcome more than I ever thought possible. I have built a life that I love, a life filled with love, support, and purpose, and I have proven to myself and everyone else that I am capable of achieving anything I set my mind to. The people who once dismissed me and underestimated me are now nothing but distant memories, cautionary tales of what happens when you underestimate someone and treat them like they are less than they are worth. I have learned that the best revenge against someone who has hurt you is not to get even, but to get ahead, to build a life so successful, so powerful, and so happy that they can never ignore you again, and then to offer them absolutely nothing, because they don't deserve your tears, your time, or your forgiveness. I have become the person I always knew I could be, and I am proud of everything I have accomplished and overcome. My past is not a burden, it is a foundation, a lesson, and a reminder that I have the strength and resilience to overcome any obstacle life throws my way. The best revenge against someone who has hurt you is not to get even, but to get ahead, to build a life so successful, so powerful, and so happy that they can never ignore you again, and then to offer them absolutely nothing because they don't deserve your tears, your time, or your forgiveness.